Hello, Sean. How are you?
I'm excited.
Me too.
Are you?
This is about as good as it gets.
Well,
With me.
welcome to Comp and Coffee.
Thanks.
Bill's here. Katie's here.
I am here.
All right, so we're here today to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, focus. And what that means to me, and let's talk about it then, is a lot of us get inundated on any given day and are forced into a reactive mode. Right? People will come and request a lot of things of us. They'll take of our time. Email in and of itself is a whole additional topic to this, right? It's your to-do list, basically, that other people can put on your plate. So when that happens, and when you're starting to feel like you're totally reactive and overwhelmed, what do you do? Right? And so I wanted to talk through some examples of this, but the general thing is, and I'll credit Dharmesh Shah from HubSpot with this specific part, he said something to the effect of, if you want to get one thing done a day, write a list of 5 things and cross 4 of them off. Because with all those interruptions, that's about what it's going to come down to, is you'll get one solid thing done a day. So pick your one thing and focus on it. But I'm curious, like, why does this happen? Why are we in this spot that we're in today?
I always wonder, like, how much has the internet affected this? Like I've only worked, in the internet age. Was it as chaotic, or were people as distracted before the internet, when you could have, we all sit with like a million tabs open and jumping from one thing to the other?
Well, I think that's a great take, a great question. I think accessibility, it's not just the internet, but technology.
I agree.
And that all of these great technology discoveries have made all of us so much more accessible. And Sean, you just hit on a couple things, and as you were talking, I was thinking it's like, at work, I have my desk phone, I have my cell phone. My cell phone actually rings when people call, and it dings when people text. And then you have email, and you have Slack, and you have, other internal communication systems.
And guess what every single one of those things is wired for?
Immediate response.
It's wired to give you a dopamine hit so that you feel like an immediate response is productivity.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm responding to all these Slack messages today. Look how much I'm getting done. Oh, I got all these texts going.
Right.
Oh, I'm the quarterback today. Everything's getting done. But all you're doing is just solving and actually exacerbating your addiction to dopamine.
I mean, it's like everybody's turned into an operator from like the 1920s when the phone system started. And you're just like,
that's right. That's
take a question and plug it into another port for an answer. And you're just bouncing information around.
So I think what you hit on, though, Bill, is the interesting part. It's not the internet necessarily. It's all the technology, which years past when we used to do compensation on actual spreadsheets, not on spreadsheets in Excel, but actual spreadsheets. And
Pieces of paper.
Pieces of paper.
What's that?
Yeah, the gridded sheets. Years past when you would have to do that, you could leave your work at work and leave at 5, and there's no way for that to follow you home. Nobody's going to deliver a memo to you in the middle of the night, ring your doorbell, wake you up, right? And be like, by the way,
ludicrous does that sound?
Here's a memo from somebody on the West Coast. I wanted to make sure you saw this before 7 a.m. But that's effectively what email does to us today, right? We all have these dings set up because we want the dopamine hit. We have our phone with us all the time. We feel the need to check even if we know it's going to stress us out, right? Or cause us to think about work when we're in the middle of spending time with our family, when we're in the middle of relaxing, when we're in the middle of enjoying a weekend.
Vacation.
When we're on vacation, right? And that builds up this external pressure too, depending on your organization, that there's a belief that you should do that, or there's a cultural norm that you should do that in some companies. And yeah, I think it makes us more accessible, right? In a bad way, I'd argue.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you are at a company or on a team where it's clearly communicated that you employ, if you're at home, be at home. You don't need to respond immediately, or you don't need to respond to those Slack messages the instant they hit you. I think you still feel, and I'm obviously speaking for myself here, like some sort of internal pressure to do that.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I have to communicate it out on the days that I'm not going to be responsive. I feel like I have to be like, heads up, everyone, I'm not going to be immediately answering your messages.
Or we all have those people that we work with that we know have trained us that they're not as responsive as others.
Yeah.
Which is a good way of them clearing their plate and pushing more things onto other people.
Well, but that's one of the tips they give you. In theory, if you can live in a perfect world, that you would check your email only twice a day and not first thing when you come in. So how many of us do that? How many of us don't immediately go into the inbox?
Oh, I clear the inbox first thing.
Yeah.
because it's been filled
honestly,
overnight.
It depends on my day. Usually, like, I'm remote several days a week, so when I'm here, usually I like come right in and doing, like, I have lots of meetings, face-to-face meetings, to make up for the lack of face-to-face meetings on the days I'm remote. So if I'm in the office, I'm less responsive to email. But if I'm home, half of those distractions that come with working in the office are eliminated. So for me personally, it just depends on where I'm working from.
I always know if I'm deep into a project if I don't immediately check email. And that's because I'll come in and I'm like, I have a really good idea, or I need to push through this today. And I know in the morning my creativity is the highest, right? My ability to just focus and concentrate and get stuff done and do it in a thoughtful way is the highest. It's going to wane throughout the day. So then I'll check my email in the afternoon. I'll respond to what needs to be responded to. But I'm a firm believer that these things like Slack or HipChat or Instagram, I don't even have an account. I believe they're all these massive distractions that just suck away our time and don't give us anything back, right? They just force you into reactive mode on top of things that are already forcing you into reactive mode. Like if you're in compensation, a manager coming to you and being like, I need a market pricing on this job today. I need to level all my employees today and see where they're at because somebody else is paying a quarter up the street and we need to know what's going on, right? And that's when it's on top of it's already your season 4 salary budgeting. It's already your season 4 survey participation, right? We have all this like normal drumbeat kind of stuff that layers on top. And then we have all these other apps on top of that are like just people pinging you all day, not worried about your time, and they expect an immediate response, right? There's all this stuff that just kind of compounds now.
It's like, so do either of you turn off notifications on your phone, like push notifications or email like the little bubble that pops up saying you have emails?
I don't have any other than text messages.
Same. I have like a couple other ones related to like home security stuff, but like, yeah, like if someone's breaking into my home, I kind of want to know that. But like text messages is all I have. I don't have email on there, and I did that. I feel like a couple of years ago when I realized that I just was like, I felt like I was like captive by my phone all the time.
Slave to your
I mean,
phone?
I still am, but
Right.
not as bad. And it's funny we're having this conversation today because I was just talking about this with a friend last night who, I have an Apple Watch. My friend just got the Apple Watch and was saying that like he's responding to every notification that like twice now, basically. It's coming on his phone and it's coming on his watch. And I was like, you got to turn that shit off.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. I was like, you're going to kill yourself.
Turn that shit off, Bill.
Are we allowed to say that on the podcast?
Sure, I'll put the explicit tag on this one.
Sorry. Want me to? I can.
Every now and again, we drop swears. It is what it is.
I can restate that.
Like a lot of this is reminding me of a different podcast. Are we allowed to talk about other people's podcasts?
Fine, Bill. If you want other people to deviate away from our bi-weekly podcast and listen to others, go for it.
I'm going to forget whose podcast it was, though. But it was I guess more important is the guest was Jason Fried from Basecamp.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
wrote a great book about.
He wrote a book
that
about
relates to
this,
Yes.
and talks about how at his company they don't even let you schedule meetings through online calendars because his belief, and I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people listening, his belief is that it's become too easy to get time on people's calendars, and therefore more people are invited to more meetings than need be because you just go click, click, these people are available, I'm going to have a meeting. And that his thought was if you want somebody's time, you need to work a little harder to get it. And his goal is he wants all his people spending more time doing the big projects that they're being paid for and less time going to meetings and being interrupted with instant messages and emails even.
There were two things that he said, and I think the podcast was Kara Swisher's Recode Decode.
That was.
At least that's where I heard him.
You're right, yes.
He said a couple of things that resonated with me, so you should go listen to that. It was probably a couple of months ago now, but it was a great podcast. And read his book. He's got a couple of them that are really solid. But he said, one, calendars anymore are like playing a game of Tetris. And that resonated so much. It's like, where can I find a block of time where these 6 people can get together?
7 months from now, cool.
Right. So, and that
guess we're never going to talk.
That happens. So
that's
decisions
how we schedule these podcasts.
Kind of.
Touche, Bill. But decisions are delayed as a result of that, right? And you need to know that you have the power, and this is the organizational dependent, but you have the power to make those decisions in that vacuum, right? Errors of action, right? But secondly, the thing he said was, and I think one of the reasons he cited for having that conversation first, at least I know this personally, and I feel like that came from him as well. If somebody comes and asks you first, hey, Bill, we're thinking about recording a podcast next Thursday. Is that all right? Here's the topic. Let's talk about it a little bit, right? It's more that personal interaction and less just something getting dumped on your calendar.
Rather than you showing up
what
to
is
the meeting.
this?
Yeah.
Right. What am I here for?
Right.
What did I have to plan for? Right. It's way more of that personal interaction that I think we are sorely lacking, obviously, in the workplace now.
But across the board, too.
Yeah, this is Robert Putnam's bowling alone, right? Like this is the societal changes that have been driven largely by technology, I would argue, that are enabling us to be more isolated.
Yeah, it's funny as you say that. There's an interesting little nuance in there that when you come to my office and say we're going to record a podcast next Thursday and this is the topic, you're expecting me to respond and ask a question or say, yeah, that's good, or I have a thought. And so the word you used was interaction, which when you put it on my calendar isn't an interaction. It's a statement from you to me. Certainly conversation is possible or a back and forth is possible, but it's not real time and can't see your face when I say, oh, here's my idea for that podcast. But in a 2-minute interaction, like in the hallway or in one of our offices, you can get an awful lot accomplished that you can't do via
literally like the scheduling of this podcast.
Right.
But actually, I think really good ideas spark that way, right? Mm-hmm. Is when that happens. You'll come at it from a different angle. Katie will come at it from a different angle. And we're like, oh, yeah, we should add all those in and talk about it.
Right, exactly.
Not just
right.
Bullet points and
it's not this sanitized.
Sorry, Tessa, we're not taking shots here, I promise. We are all guilty of this, right?
Yeah.
This is a perfect world we're talking
about. So
this
brings me back, I guess, to my original question. Like, was before the internet, before it was you just could slap time on someone's calendar, were people interacted more, but were people more productive because of this? Because you would go and have that immediate conversation of like, hey, not just like, hey, we should do a podcast, don't know what it's about, we'll figure it out as time gets closer, but like, hey, Bill, do you want to do a podcast on Thursday? Oh, what could we talk about? We can talk about focus in the workplace, yada, yada, yada. Here are my thoughts. Okay, cool.
True, but then the amount of time and effort and ease of doing research for said podcast was much higher. And now I'm going to go into as I look around, clearly the old person in the room. Yes, I worked long before the internet.
Sorry, I keep looking at you for these questions too. Bill, tell us about the Dark Ages.
Slightly ageist here, apparently.
Sorry.
When I was a kid, it's like I'll try and link this to compensation. Doing proxy analysis, for those of you that are familiar with that, looking up what executives get paid at public companies. It's been public for a while, since either the late 80s or early 90s. I'm pretty sure it became standardized. But in order to get proxies, we had to call our internal library, who would then go through this service, I forgot the name of it, that would print them. It's sort of a LexisNexis kind of service, although I don't think it was LexisNexis. And they would print them and have them shipped to our office. And so you're doing an analysis of 20 companies, and you would have these things printed, and you would pay by the page to get these massive piles of kind of ugly-looking printouts of proxy statements. And now you sit at your desk and you write, proxy, name of the company, and boom, you have the last 10 years of proxies. Mm-hmm. And you can just look at them all. And then, you can actually buy services that dump it. So let me restate that. You can buy services that dump the data into a usable format. It's not just reading it. It's loading it into Excel or into a third-party software or whatever it is you want. So there's a whole lot more work being done to do research or to get information. But there were definitely a lot less interruptions in meetings, because the only way you could interrupt somebody was by either calling or showing up.
That's the good and the bad with this, right? Is that today you can get real-time compensation data with the click of a button too, right? Whereas instead of participating in surveys and waiting for that binder to come out with all the results, right? But the other side of that, so while technology has helped those things, and it's helped us in a lot of things in life, the other side is they're addictive. It's addictive, right? And so you can go too far down that spectrum and be a slave to your phone, to to things that are going on out there in the world that in a previous generation you would have never even known or cared about, that now it is the topic for a day on Twitter.
Right.
Right? And you feel the sense of following along, and because you want to see it completed and what happens and what's the latest update, and it becomes dialogue. It builds this cultural thing where everybody feels, if they're not on Instagram or Twitter or using their technology nonstop, that they're out of the loop.
And it probably impairs long-range planning because you're so focused on what's going on right now.
For sure.
100%.
We talk about managing all of those like external noises all the time.
Right.
And you've given not just your direct reports, but the marketing team as a whole permission to don't feel like you need to be immediately responsive on Slack. Don't feel like you need to immediately respond to emails, all of that kind of stuff. Because like if you are heads down on a project, but also responding to Slack, also checking your emails, like you're not getting anything done and it's not going to be meaningful work.
Yeah, I think I try to live by that as much as I can. And what I find fascinating, though, is I do that intentionally because, like, the quote-unquote top-down, like lead by example. But there are people in the company that will unintentionally drive the opposite of that, right? That when they Slack you, they expect a response. That when they email you, they'll come over and walk over and ask you where it's at. Email? If you're in compensation, like, and a manager emails you and you don't get back to them soon enough, they're going to send you another one. They're going to Slack you. They're going to come find
Call
you.
you.
Yeah, and so all those behaviors, intentionally or not, and I would argue they're probably not, will track you down and force you into that reactive mode, right? And that's the problem. And that's where I find one of the things I do by default, we can start going into the solution
How do you
part
actually
of this,
focus? Yeah.
as opposed to the complaining. One of the things I do that I found extremely helpful, and I was amazed more people don't do this. I thought this is a classic, oh my God, I discovered this, and why doesn't that, like, everybody must do this, and this is how they get stuff done. I will literally block off a morning or a day or days, depending on what I'm trying to get done. And that way they can't play Tetris on my calendar. And I'll work from somewhere else, or I'll work from like a different area of the building so that they don't come to my office and try to, interrupt me that way. It's like, I'm going to prioritize getting this done today because this is the most important thing I can do for the company today. There might be other things out there, and I'll check my email middle of the day, end of the day, and make sure I'm staying as up to speed on that as possible. But it's one of the things that I've done that, so if you're in one of those busy seasons, just block it off and kind of let everybody know. I try to communicate it out too when that happens. Like, I will be doing this. It's
going off
judgment
the grid
call I'm
too.
making today, so be aware.
It's similar to what you're saying, going off the grid. I've done that multiple times in the past few months to try and get big projects done. Just like tell everyone, hey, I'm not signing in anything. I'm not responding to email today. If you have if something's on fire, call me. Don't text me, call me. And then day to day, and we've talked about this before, Sean, that I listen to background noise, basically. There's an app called Coffitivity. And
right, the coffee shop
noise?
Yes.
It sounds like coffee shop noise, and how do you know about this?
That's what I'm laughing. Oh my God.
I listen to that.
When I'm driving.
And I listen, especially like when I'm writing something and need to be, or editing, need to be really focused on what I'm doing. I listen to literally coffee shop background noise, or go to a coffee shop.
I find the bussers make too much noise with the plates, but
they do. That's very true. They are.
There's Noisely, which is also a favorite of mine, which is more ambient, white noise background stuff that you just plug into that. And
and doing that kind of stuff. We have a very open office space. I've almost always worked in an open office space, and I think in previous jobs, especially where I was 100% writing all day, that's how I would get stuff done. Just tune it out with essentially white noise.
Joe, who is on our data insights team, told me this morning that he listens to classical music.
Yeah, I do classical music
because
sometimes.
It has no words, and it's it lets him tune out everything else around him.
Yep.
Yeah, if anybody wants something like that, but not that, Sigur Rós, an Icelandic band. I know, I'm getting looks.
What is it?
Sigur Rós, Sigurros. They're an Icelandic band. They have an album Untitled that is perfect for
Thank God it's Untitled.
It's perfect for zoning out and for creativity that I find anyway. It's this kind of soft background music.
Seagulls? You're listening to Seagulls?
You're not. It's actually really good music, but it's very calming music. And there's slight lyrics to it, but anyway, I find
Maybe
that
you should put a little at the end of the podcast so people can hear it.
I don't know if I legally can.
Oh, okay.
But check
I
out
think you can
Sigur Rós
link to
Untitled.
Coffitivity probably and Noisely, right?
Now you're You're all adding things for me to do, and that's
we
the
don't
entire
have to
podcast.
do this.
I'll email you.
If you want to know the links, just email coffee@payfactors.com.
But as the king of segue, I want to go back to something Katie said like 20 minutes ago about, fire. If there's a fire, call me. And I think a lot of people listening are probably going, yeah, this is all well and good, but we in comp or we in HR, we have fires on top of fires.
Day.
And, it's like, and sometimes it's literally about
legitimately
people being
getting fired.
Yeah.
That's what I was
where
say.
it's like all of a sudden it's like we got to stop. We got to we have to follow this protocol. And no matter what I had on my list of 5 and crossed out 4, I got 1 left, and that one has to get put aside. And so it's how do people in those kind of roles manage stuff, because their deadlines don't go away when somebody has to be fired or there's some somebody fell off the benefit plan for some unknown reason, or whatever, this person didn't get paid, because like this is all the stuff that our listeners are dealing with is things related to people and their lives, their health benefits, their paychecks, and stuff that in the grand scheme of a business doesn't seem important, but to the person that's impacted, it usually is very important.
So perfect world for something like that, I would say, is that you actually divide a team that way, right? You have people that are focused on being more reactive and responsive, while you can have somebody else be focused on the more routine, strategic, whatever it is, right? It's never a perfect world. So I would advise, knowing that that's going to come up, that's where it comes back to me of, you're going to get one thing done today. You need to get 5, but you're going to do one of them. So what's that one thing? And then when you get interrupted, it is what it is. Then you're back to getting that one thing done and not trying to get all 5 things on your list done. It's just not possible, typically, in today's world. If you want to read a good book, I wanted to get back to this because somebody mentioned when they were talking to us recently that a lot of people did submit additional book ideas after we did that podcast. If you want to read a good one on this, it is called One Thing, and it's by Gary Keller. I would highly recommend that one as an interesting way to start this. You mentioned another one, Kara Swisher's podcast with Jason Fried.
Right, and Jason Fried's book.
He's got a couple.
He said he writes a book every 5 years.
I know, it's amazing.
Or something.
His most recent was It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work. And he writes those with his co-founders from Basecamp, his co-founder from Basecamp. The other one he had was Rework.
Oh, right.
Which was, and then prior to that was Remote. I think I got the order right there. But they have great books, and it's all about what they're doing at Basecamp.
Right.
And they try to apply these things as best they can. So I would highly recommend those too.
If you have like unique ways of focusing, let's hear it. Put it either in the comments in iTunes, or send us an email at coffee@payfactors.com. I think everybody, you have these conversations and you uncover really interesting ways that people maintain their focus that you never would have thought of otherwise. Agreed.
Yeah, we can do a follow-up on this.
I think we can probably do a follow-up on sort of how technology has changed the work world. And as I'm thinking back to 1980 something, when I was sitting in an office and you had a stack of memos on your desk, literally paper memos, which for you younger folks out there is what we call email. But
that's why there's a CC. You would actually have a carbon copy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carbon paper. I mean, it's pretty interesting the way technology made it easier, and therefore communication goes faster. But and you tend to read more emails than I think people read those memos back in the day. But you get a lot more.
Meaning you're more likely to open an email and read it, or that you get more emails.
You both, actually. So because it's now I'm starting the new podcast. It's years ago, Bill Gates said he wanted to have a tiny stamp or tax on emails, and people thought it was just Bill Gates trying to make more money. And what Bill Gates's point was, if you put any charge on it, you will restrict how much of it gets sent. And his target was spammers. And spammers can spam you because it's free.
And now look at us today.
Exactly. Same with cell phones and those robocalls we get. All that stuff is because things are free, and so anybody can do it. Same with emails at work.
It's true. It's the easy default, that and booking calendar meetings.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to have your admin type up a memo and proofread it and then make 20 copies and put it in those brown envelopes and send them off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, true.
I did have to learn how to write memos in a corporate communications class because of like the old school companies that still use them.
Right.
I remember being like, I will never.
It's good discipline for emails, though.
They were way longer.
The memos, right?
Were so long.
Well, because you had fewer chances to.
True. Yeah.
To talk to people or get the information out.
All right, let's save this for the next podcast.
You can cut the whole thing.
I won't do that. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Give us the feedback. We love hearing it. And every now and again, we drop some prizes.
Yeah, if you, I sent out some swag the other week. So if you're one of the, I think 30 people I sent it to, let us know.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back soon.